The early 90s were a buffet of sexy danger for thriller fans, and today's unheralded 1992 Man vs. Man for all the marbles Psycho Fest has it all. It's a creepy stalker movie with all-time great actors, and a look into what happens when a happy couple has their world wrecked by inner-city crime reaching their suburban safe haven. Today's film is full of sex, horror, and questionable decisions. Ah, my favorite. It even ends with a fistfight in the kitchen that makes Laurie and Michael Myers' Halloween Ends throwdown look like a nice cuddle. Unfortunately, it also involves a scene that features police brutality during a boiling point in America. This cast a shadow over the lead up to the film and could have buried it forever. This is the story of what the f*** happened to Unlawful Entry.
In case if there's an intruder, you just lock yourself in and wait for the cavalry, which is us.
There's not a lot of info out there on where the inspiration for Unlawful Entry came from.
She's all alone now. But don't worry, not for long.
Perhaps it was just a desire to get in on the current thriller boom using a psycho cop angle.
Where are we headed? Just got one more errand to run.
In fact, at its most basic premise, Unlawful Entry asks the eerie question of, who do you call when the guy who wants your wife is a cop?
Who are you gonna call? Someone else.
That question was asked by a trio of writers in George Putnam, John Katchmer, and Lewis Colick, who would go on to write several popular thrillers such as Judgment Night and Domestic Disturbance.
Lost his mother, his grandmother, teachers, the police, just about everybody.
Largo Entertainment, fresh off several entertaining 90s movies for 20th Century Fox that included Point Break and Joe Pesci's The Super, would option the script for the summer of 1991. The movie tells the tale of a wealthy but otherwise everyman in Michael Carr and his beautiful yet naive wife Karen.
Oh, I'll take it from a teacher. We love those quiet little boys in the back of the class.
Their suburban bliss is interrupted when a home intruder puts a knife to Karen's throat after Michael is unable to restrain him. The assailant runs away scared, but the damage to each of their psyches was done. When they call the cops, Officer Pete Davis and his partner Roy Cole show up to take the report. We quickly notice that something is definitely off about Officer Pete, and you know we're in trouble when the psycho eyeballs the living shit out of Karen to the point where his own partner has an uh-oh frown on his face.
Nice people.
Hey, I know what you're thinking.
The horror of Unlawful Entry is underrated and twofold in that, at one point, it focuses on the story of a rage-fueled, mentally unstable cop cruising the streets of LA at night. Then ask the viewer what they would do if that cop came after your wife.
What are you gonna do? You gonna call the cops?
Who was, unfortunately, very clearly attracted to his sad eyes and misunderstood cop persona.
Cops and marriage are a tough combination, so can't believe how much I'm talking.
Let's just say it's a rough day in the neighborhood for Michael.
Michael, you're a scary guy.
When the psycho cop uses his connections to come after everything holy to him in a most sadistic manner, he has to rise to the occasion to save her life as well as his own.
Pete, I want to get something straight here. I'd like you to leave.
The director of this karate kick to the average man's mind would be the helmer of Jodie Foster's The Accused and endless John Cougar Mellencamp music video productions, Jonathan Kaplan. The cast would be crucial, and they couldn't have chosen better. In the role of Crazy Pete, Ray Liotta was cast fresh off an absolute heater of a run, in which he starred in Goodfellas and Field of Dreams.
Once my reverie, and I am once again.
It's hard to put into words just how underappreciated Liotta's performance was here.
I'd actually give you a loaded fucking gun.
Moments when he just stands on the sidewalk and leers at the happy couple inside of a club remind you of Jake Gyllenhaal in Nightcrawler or De Niro in Taxi Driver.
You talking to me?
Another moment where he starts berating a woman right after sleeping with her in his cop car remind you of Christian Bale in American Psycho. Only this Patrick Bateman has a badge.
It's sleazy, low-life whores like you. That's my problem.
The rich would only get richer, as the legendary Kurt Russell would modestly sign on to play a role that an actor with a bigger ego would have sneered his nose at.
I'm into that as we speak. I'm working on security right now.
For much of the film, Russell had to play a character who is helpless and reeling,
Guy gets his hands on your wife like that, you feel pretty helpless.
being taken advantage of by a tougher man.
He had a hold of her, I had that stupid golf club in my hand, but I thought I could just... I didn't take the shot.
But to be fair, in the end, and spoiler alert, we get to see Russell beat the hell out of him and reclaim his spirit. You just can't keep a guy who played Jack Burton down.
Hold the fort and keep the home fires burning, and if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
Russell found a sweet spot in these types of roles of an everyday guy who could believably rise to the occasion in films such as Breakdown and Executive Decision later in his career as well.
I can do this. I can do this.
He did an amazing job of showing the struggle Michael was going through without ever making us stop rooting for the character. Even though he was a schmoozy nightclub owner, we always feel like the character would be able to hold his own if push came to shove.
From all of it. Damn it, you listen to me, because I'm telling you, you leave us alone.
Even if he was in over his head facing off against f***ing maniac cop. Roger Ebert even said in his review that it felt like the two actors were twins in real life while watching the film. It goes unsaid and undernoticed just how perfectly these two squared off against each other, like Travolta and Cage in Face Off.
It's like looking in a mirror, only not.
Or perhaps more appropriate for the stalker subgenre, Robert De Niro and Nick Nolte in Cape Fear.
Excuse me.
Between the two was The Last of the Mohicans actress Madeline Stowe and her unforgettable voice as Karen.
Keep it quiet.
I heard a noise from downstairs. Didn't you hear it?
What is it with Ray Liotta characters dating Karens, by the way?
Karen, right? Hey, Karen, will you grow up? Karen, listen to me. Karen!
Stowe was no stranger to the erotic thriller genre, having worked with Kevin Costner on 1990's Revenge.
You sure you want to try this?
Yes, I'm positive.
She played a strong character who was also extremely clueless to the fact that Pete was the possible Antichrist.
A woman like you, a man should never take for granted. And you should never feel unsafe.
Even as her husband begged her to listen.
I told you he's dangerous. What's it gotta take? Me in a body bag?
It was a line that had to be walked particularly well if you wanted to still care for the character when she was in peril. Her performance at the end of the film confirmed that, when faced with some pretty gnarly situations in order to survive as Pete graduates from stalker to full-on slasher, while making pasta.
But I didn't know cooking was one of your...
Other strong character actors included Roger E. Mosley as Officer Roy Cole, Ken Lerner as Michael's best friend to the end, and Deborah Offner as Penny.
Now, how come I didn't know Michael had so many good-looking friends?
Unlawful Entry would be filmed in 1991 in Los Angeles. The production had an unfortunate and unintended tie-in to real events going on in the world at the time. On March 3rd of 1991, Rodney King was brutally beaten by LAPD officers after a high-speed chase, and the footage was, of course, released to the public a day later. As fate would have it, Unlawful Entry had a pivotal scene in which Officer Pete brutally beats the black man who broke into the car's house to show off in front of Michael. This scene, while important to production, was hitting far too close to home for everyone involved. They would attempt to ignore the similarities until April of 1992, just 2 months before release, when the officers were acquitted and the famed LA riots took place with the entire world watching on the news. This resulted in the director and producer heavily editing the sequence into what is seen in the finished product. The cast were also asked often about the situation in marketing interviews, where they all pretty much maintained that their film was only intended to entertain, and any similarities to current events were unintended. Thankfully, this was seemingly understood by the public, and the film was able to live on. On set, Liotta would tell Entertainment Weekly that the late Kaplan was an intense little dude, while Russell referred to him as a frantic Santa Claus. Stowe would also offer up a weird tidbit of information to the outlet when she admitted that her and Liotta didn't have a lot to say to each other when the cameras were off, but that she found herself genuinely attracted to him when they were in character. Alrighty then, Madeline Stowe.
Criminals are hot.
It was during the same set visit that we learned that the film's ending had been reworked several times, leading to some confusion, even as they were filming the discovery of Penny's body after Pete stuffed her in the closet like a Michael Myers arts and crafts project. The cast noted that they weren't even sure what part of the film they were currently shooting.
I'm extremely confused.
It's not known exactly what the other endings could have been, but you can definitely see several different outcomes taking place after the stressful climax between Michael and Pete. While some critics claimed the last act felt rushed, as an audience member, I personally couldn't wait for Michael to get home and unleash all that anger onto the man trying to take his wife.
Michael! Jesus. Michael, he found your gun!
The ending doesn't disappoint, with the two of them frenetically throwing themselves from wall to wall, down the stairs, and into the kitchen where one of the most painful pan-to-face moments ever takes place. One cast member we forgot to mention was the cat, Tiny. They used 3 different on-set cats for the role. One named Merv was called a stay cat, which would be used for sitting still or lying down shots. Another named Simba was used as a running cat, and a third for various other shots. The cat's main purpose was embarrassing Michael and proving to audiences that the idea animals can smell evil on certain humans might be a myth that can work against the good guys, at least when the cat hates you and snuggles up to the psycho killer, impressing your hot wife.
He likes policemen.
There's even a shot at the end of the film where Michael picks up the cat after sacrificing life and limb to save the family, and it still pulls away from him and runs to Karen. It's an interesting subplot, and maybe a sign I've seen this movie too many times.
How many did you see? 14,605,000.
The film production was able to get legendary composer James Horner to score the film, but with Kaplan being the son of composer Sol Kaplan, and himself a casual musician, it led to a couple of awkward moments. When crafting the main theme of Unlawful Entry, Kaplan says that Horner was of course doing great work, but he wasn't quite seeing what Kaplan was wanting. Finally, Kaplan tracked a different piano over the scene to provide an example. He would later recall, while laughing, that it pissed him off, but he got it. The underrated main title song ended up sounding kind of like your typical dramatic thriller composition, only this time with something like The Exorcist's tubular bells cutting masterfully through it, or perhaps the piano from It Was Always You, Helen in Candyman. It would also lead the composer away from hitting the strings too hard when Liotta appeared on screen for the first time, in an attempt to avoid tipping their hand too early that the character was a certified nut job. Finally, Unlawful Entry invaded movie theaters on June 26, 1992. The film came in an honorable second place at the box office on its opening weekend due to the star power of Kurt Russell and the newfound fame of Liotta.
You're not gonna shoot me.
I swear I'll kill you.
You're not gonna kill anyone.
The movie would pull in over $10 million that weekend on its eventual way to a $57 million domestic haul. Sure, we're not talking James Cameron type numbers here, but the thriller made back its $23 million budget and then some. Same for the critical reception, which was generally favorable. Most reviews could be pretty much summed up as a by-the-numbers thriller that is nonetheless extremely entertaining, led by a standout stalker performance from Liotta, even if things get a little stretchy in the believability department at times. Even if it's not as well known as its Basic Instinct brethren, the film to this day remains one of the most entertaining, rewatchable, and well-acted thrillers to come out of the glory days of the genre.
What are you gonna do, tough guy? You gonna make a citizen's arrest?
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. We're an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.